Okay, I think we got everybody joining us, both the writers and the readers and the viewers and the listeners who are possibly going to be joining us. I want to thank you all for tuning in tonight to SIBA's Reader Meet Writer. SIBA stands for the Southern Independent Booksellers Alliance, and that is an organization, an association that represents 650 or so independent bookstores throughout the South. So perhaps you have a favorite independent bookstore. Perhaps that independent bookstore invited you tonight. When you set off to purchase this gorgeous book, we ask you to purchase from the bookstore that invited you or to purchase from your favorite independent bookstore in your community. No one is coming to save America. So independent bookstores are trying to save American literature here. And so do your part, purchase books from independent bookstores and not that obscure website named for a river. So tonight is a very, very important event. We are welcoming a whole slate of writers, really from around the country tonight. They are all part of this wonderful new collection, All the Songs We Sing, celebrating the 25th anniversary of the Carolina African American Writers Collective. And so I'm going to welcome them in just a moment. But first, I want to say my name is Wiey Cash. You're here for this event, sponsored by SIBA, Reader Meet Writer. Please purchase this book. Blair is the publisher based here in North Carolina, a wonderful anthology. And so I will kick it off with our first reader, who also happens to be the editor of this anthology and a wonderful, esteemed North Carolinian. I'm proud to call him a fellow North Carolinian along with me. World-renowned poet Lenard D. Moore is the co-founder of the Carolina African American Writers Collective, which is celebrating its 25th anniversary year writing together with this anthology, All the Songs We Sing. He is the recipient of several awards, including the 2019 North Carolina Black History Month honoree. He was presented by Governor Roy Cooper in 2019. He's the 2014 North Carolina Award for Literature, the 2008 Raleigh Medal of the Arts for Lifetime Achievement in the Arts, and he has taught all over the place, NC State, Shaw University, the University of Mount Olive, and a number of awards and distinctions and publications that I didn't have time to mention. But I would like to turn it over to Lenard Moore and get our event started this evening.
Wow, thank you, Wiey. As you said, I'm Lenard D. Moore. It's an honor to be here and to be with all of the contributors, my friends, who are great writers. So the Carolina African American Writers Collective got off in the ground in 1995, and at that time we were meeting here at the house. But, you know, we would critique each other's work, share information about other works, literary trends, the markets, about books to read, places to send your work, and then of course we would critique each other's work. And throughout the years it has evolved where we also have writing prompts at our meetings for poetry, flash fiction, you name it. And so I think it's great to lead with work. And usually when a member hosts the event, he or she would prepare a meal. Now, I won't call out any names, but, you know, there have been some great meals, you know. We've had salmon, we've had soup, we've had fried chicken, on and on. So, yeah, you have to have something to feed those poems. So I want to read my poem from All the Songs We Sing. And I think it kind of deals with current events, and we all know what's been happening in the country. You know, you're talking about people dealing with racism and other events happening. So this poem, of course, goes back, you know, 400 years. So here we go. I don't think I need to say anything about the poem. Interrogation of Harriet Tubman. You say I should escape with you, follow the North Star that spills light, like my good breast drips milk, I've already had my children snatched from me as if they were brown eggs in some nest. So you think I'm going to trust you? What I'm going to eat? An oak leaf? A pine needle? A twig? My feet feel like axe wood. My body feels like a sack of sweet potatoes. You brave woman going to poke that pistol in my side, make me walk. I don't think, I don't know what Massa might think. He said I was real good. And you say you're taking me to freedom. That's as wide as this pitch black night. Can you tell me what's waiting for us in the thicket? Will a horseman be there with his long black whip, a gun slung over his shoulder to take us back to that plantation? So why should I follow you and the North Star tonight? I hear a growl to our right. I hear a yowl to our left. You say keep walking with my feet straight ahead, quick and quiet. I think about my 3 children snatched and sold. I want them back. Will I ever see them again? I push back branches, duck limbs, and sidestep weeds. No water here. Can your pistol shoot the horseman off his horse without missing him? I think I forget that my feet ache. My hands sweat with each dark mile. Sure we won't see coffles again? Sure we won't witness whips again? Sure we won't hear auction voices again?
Thank you so much, Lenard. God, that got me at the end there. Um, our next reader is going to be Dr. L. Teresa Church. She's been part of the Carolina African American Writers Collective since 1995. She is the author of 2 chapbooks of poetry, Hand Me Down Calicos and Beyond the Water Dance. And she is the co-author of One Window's Light, a collection of haiku.
Good evening. I write a lot of poems about growing up as a child in the South, and the poem that I'm going to read tonight reflects that. It is called Woman Child. For the last 24 months, more woman than child. Her 9th summer stretches the shadow of dolls. Beyond plank bottom swing, she sets 2-year-old brother on her hip. Like a steel trap, she grasps little sister's thumb-suck hand. 6 days a week, 7 when needed. She be her mama's little stand-in mama. Woman child hauls water buckets. Woman child bends over wash tub. Woman child rings mop strings. Woman child stirs cook stove pots. Woman child gazes past clothes on wire line, longs to be more child than woman. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. I feel weird just like having something that powerful end and just saying next. It feels like I don't know. It's an interesting experience to have, but thank you so much for that. Our next reader is Camille T. Dungy. Camille is the author of 4 collections of poetry, most recently Trophic Cascade. Her many honors include a Guggenheim Fellowship, an American Book Award, a Colorado Book Award, 2 NAACP Image Award nominations, and fellowships from the NEA in both prose and poetry.
Hi. Hello, everybody out there in virtual land. It's such an honor to be part of this celebration of this beautiful book. I think I've been part of the Carolina African American Writers Collective for, for more than a millennium, in fact, right? So almost 20 years now, which is pretty amazing. And I am so grateful for the group, though I haven't lived in North Carolina for quite some time. The family and the collective and the camaraderie has lasted and sustained many of us who have gone on a diasporic journey away from the state for a long time. So I have to give gratitude for that. I live in Colorado now, but to still have this community that I can depend on and share good news with and count on for celebrations like this is such an incredibly important thing for us as writers, as African American people, and as people who are kind of trying to make change in the world through language. So thank you to everybody who makes this possible. I'm going to read a poem. They asked that we read, if we have more than one poem, to read something that connects with the time. And I may not be the only person in this audience who's trying to figure out what's happening with school in the next month or so, both in terms of students we may have in our homes and our lives, and in terms of being professors or teachers ourselves. And so every time this possibility gets floated of maybe we'll have the first parts of class being held outside, I kind of freak out a little bit. And the reason for my concern shows up in this poem. 7 problems in pedagogy. Because she must test them, because she has turned her back on them, because they are trying, because every eye is on her, because the chalk's yellow rain that has ruined all her blouses has ruined this blouse as well. Because they will repeat what she tells them, because they will do as she says. She writes it all down on the board so they will remember. When the winds warm and they bluster each spring, take us outside, take us, please, take us outside. She doesn't admit, I can't, or I will lose you. She tells them what her teacher told her about his teacher, who gave in to such longing, who taught class outside. Already they are lost to the lesson she planned. First, there are 3. Take away 1, and what do you have? My family. They understand subtraction. Try addition. They surprise with their skills. Subtleties of language arts are well under their command. One child raises his hand, a question. Another demonstrates the exclamation, he just peed. And she must return to the basics. Green, grass, blue, sky, yellow, rays of dandelion florets. Memory is built by association, repetition, predictability, and fear. A dog, red. The ring of students, circle. The teacher, square. She tells them, because her father worked nights, because he told her to do something with that brain of hers, because she needs to help others, because they are waiting to learn what she knows, she tests them. The story. The students laughed when the dog circled, sniffed the mark. What is this? A plot? They should be able to recognize that. So like a tree, the sap, that teacher. Bark, dripping. The teacher kept teaching. Thank you.
Oh, God bless teachers. I know so many people in this group are teachers, but oh man. Thank you, Camille. Crystal Simone Smith was going to be next, but I don't believe she's going to be able to join us tonight. And so we'll move on ahead to Bridgette A. Lacy. Bridgette A. Lacy is an award-winning journalist and author of Sunday Dinner, a finalist for the Pat Conroy Cookbook Prize.
I'm going to read my essay, Sense and Sensibility. The loss of smell brings an unexpected gift. Maybe I should have taken more time to smell the fragrant rosemary in my yard, or I should have soaked in my almond-scented bubble bath more often. Perhaps I should have savored the sweetness of my Uncle Jack's roses instead of assuming they would always be there for me. 19 years ago, when I lost my sense of smell, my ability to relish those simple pleasures went away. I never thought that at 37 years old, my olfactory nerve would be stolen by a benign brain tumor the size of a tennis ball. Even when my neurosurgeon told me that losing my ability to smell was one of the side effects of brain surgery, the reality of what that meant didn't sink in. How could it? After all, I was facing life or death. Before the tumor and the surgery that saved but forever changed my life, I was a smell-centered person. Smells resonated with me. They had the ability to set my mood or even shape my attitude about ordinary, everyday activities. A soak in an aromatic bath soothed me at the end of a long day. A sip of orange and cinnamon flavored tea calmed me in the evening. The waft of lavender growing in my front yard delighted me as I rocked back and forth on the porch. I appreciated the world so much more, in part through my nostrils. At first, I thought I had survived the surgery with my sense of smell intact. I even complained to the nurse that my ICU room stank. Phantom odors, I guess. I returned home from the hospital in October 1999 after 5.5 hours of surgery. I tried to recover and return to my old routine while also adjusting to the loss of sight in my right eye. It took me a while to understand why my pot roast burned to a crisp in the oven. I had always used the aroma floating through the house as a sign that it must be close to ready. Sometimes my mother would visit to find a banana or some other fruit rotting on the countertop where I had forgotten about it. I didn't truly realize I couldn't smell until I received 2 gift baskets that included scented candles, a fragrant bubble bath, and soap. As I sat in a chair, a friend commented on the wonderful aroma of one of the candles. She said it smelled like an autumn day. I inhaled to find no scent of anything under my nose, nothing. I ran into the kitchen and opened a bottle of Lysol, nothing. I ran outside and sniffed a piece of rosemary, nothing. I was crushed as the realization of what this meant pressed upon me like a weight of a barbell. Thank you.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much. And you know, all of the folks who are reading tonight have been steeped in the experience of giving and attending readings, but maybe not all of our viewers tonight have. And so, when we're reading or we're performing, we're used to getting feedback from the audience. We're used to hearing those sighs. We're used to hearing those. We're used to hearing maybe a little applause. So if you feel like doing that, you know, maybe do it. Or if you want to go down to the chat box at the bottom of the screen and you just want to leave something, you just want to say something to somebody who just read or somebody in this collection, feel free to do it there and give a shout out to your local independent bookstore. But we want y'all to feel engaged as you can be engaged through these screens and these headsets and these tiny little squares. But thank you for that. Fred Joyner is a poet and curator whose work has appeared in Callaloo, Gargoyle, Fledgling Rag, and others. He is the Poet Laureate of Carrboro, North Carolina, and is a 2019 Academy of American Poets Laureate Fellow.
Hello, can you hear me okay? Cool. Thank you so much to Lenard and to the collective for welcoming me. I am new to North Carolina. I've only been here 4 years and going into my 4th year. And so it was an honor to be invited to be a part of the collective and a double honor to be a part of this anthology. I'm just thankful and grateful to be a part of this with so many writers that I've been admiring from afar. So thank you. And thank you to Blair for publishing this and for anybody who had anything to do with this. Thank you. This poem I'm going to read is in the anthology. It's on page 62. It's kind of like, there's a poet named Jacqueline Jones Lamont who has this, she calls it a 3-strand twist where you take 3 things and you try to braid it together into a cohesive kind of poem. And so this was one of my little attempts at doing that. The 3 things that I chose are, there's a Washington color school painter, DC, that was from DC called Gene Davis. He painted this painting called Black Flowers. And it looks different from any of the other like color field paintings that you would see. It looks like, you know, you can look it up and check it out. It looks like hands just like reaching up like this, or at least it did to me. And then, so that's one thing, his painting, Black Flowers, Raymond Patterson's poem, 26 Ways of Looking at a Black Man. And then of course, Stevens's poem, 13 Ways of Looking at a Blackbird. So I tried to braid all those things together into something new. And I came up with 7 ways of looking at black flowers. Opens with an epigraph from Raymond Patterson. What is more beautiful than black flowers, or the black men in fields gathering them? 1. In what mellow tone do black flowers sing their blues? 2. Black flowers like black hands, colored, reaching toward a mystery, up south. 3. Black flowers, the gift of open palms facing north, but rooted south. 4. A man and a woman are one. A man and a woman and black flowers are dust. 5. Against a white sky, like fists full of sea island cotton, the sky raining blood on black flowers. 6. In our world, the tongue sings only a binary song, always a black flowering problem against a white canvas, blood in between. 7. The sound possibilities of black flowers were choices made by the hands, breath, and brass of a gifted man looking inward, blood on his lips. Thank you very much.
That was great. Thank you so much, Fred. Welcome to North Carolina.
Thank you.
Our next reader is Carole Boston Weatherford. She's one of the leading poets and biographers writing for young people today. She has authored more than 50 books, including 3 Caldecott Honor winners. Her honors include the North Carolina Literature Award and an NAACP Image Award and the Arnold Adolph Poetry Award.
Hi, everyone. Well, I've been in North Carolina a little bit longer than Fred. I've been in North Carolina 35 years, and I found it to be a wonderful place to write. And I was fortunate to find a supportive, creative community of writers in the Carolina African American Literary Collective. So I'm going to read from a poem from a work in progress. The poem is called Isaac Copper, Why I Am Called Doctor or Minister, and it's about my 5th great-grandfather. When you are among the few who can remember the motherland or who heard firsthand accounts of it, you must keep watering those roots. When you are the only one who knows for sure that he descends from African royalty, you must take the lead in teaching others, even if prayer is the only education allowed the enslaved. When you are the keeper of stories, cures, and rituals, you must tell your children their heritage. You must summon the power of shamans and healers and the ancient wisdom of the elders. When you are past labor, you hold a two-faced carving in one hand and a cane with the other. You make magic bundles of stones and coins and poultices from plants in the hothouse. When you are the only one who knows, you tell somebody, you show someone. You remember for those who might forget. You pass it down. Thank you.
That's beautiful. I love those closing lines. Tell somebody. Our next reader is going to be Angela Belcher-Epps. She is the author of Salt and the Sugar Bowl, a novella. Her work has been published or is forthcoming in the North Carolina Literary Review, Essence, Obsidian, Literature in the African Diaspora, and others.
Thank you so much. I'm pleased, very pleased to be here. I'm reading from All the Songs We Sing, and it's an excerpt from my novella titled Salt in the Sugar Bowl. As the flat, black fields of eastern North Carolina gave way to thick swamp foliage, Sophia would not look. She passed the only places she'd known in her 39 years with eyes covered by long tan hands squeezing against a headache or more of a brain ache that felt like a sharpened hatchet hacking away at her skull. Sophia let out an animal moan. She had proven as clear as wedding crystal that she was not the woman anybody thought she was, including herself. Just after 2 p.m., she arrived in Norrington and grabbed her duffel bag from the sidewalk where the driver had slung it. The crowd cleared, and she sat on the side of the building in a plastic chair. A dozen yards away, a man dozed, his chin tucked fowl-like onto his chest. A woman, barefoot with sun-streaked hair, sat on the curb smoking. Sophia sat, afraid to move. She now understood how a person could walk into a brick wall and slam her head against it over and over to escape the pain happening inside. She walked slowly across the platform toward a wooden structure called the Convenience Mart. "A pack of Camels, please," she ordered, the no-nonsense brand her grandfather had smoked. Back outside, she tore the pack open, shook one out, and lit it, held the smoke in against a cough. She had left, but there was nowhere she had to be. Sophia was caught in that mental space of thinking but not thinking, where everything was going on underneath and none of it registered. A boy and his mother got off the evening bus. Still, Sophia sat in the chair growing stiff and a bit dizzy from the Camels. While the mother retrieved the bags, the boy hopped around to get Sophia's attention. His movements, so wild and close, roused Sophia, and she caught herself. I can't just sit here. She'd been in the same spot for hours. She felt gone to the very marrow of her bones. This boy was a reminder that her whole adult life was made up of minutes and hours spent feeding, tending, wiping, and chastising her children. With the transaction of money for ticket, it was all over. She had no life. She had to make one, because she realized that people did end up sitting on benches, smoking cigarettes for the rest of their lives. She looked down at the sidewalk, trying to latch on to a thought to move her away from this chair. What color do you like? Sophia whispered to herself. What's your favorite color? She prodded. Blue, she finally answered. Okay, blue. Sophia picked up her bag and walked slowly in the direction of the first pastel blue motel. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. Our next reader is Gideon Young. Gideon Young's poetry has appeared or is forthcoming in Backbone Press, Carve Magazine, Haibun Today, Modern Haiku, Obsidian, and others. And he is the co-author of One Window's Light, a collection of haiku. Gideon Young.
Thanks, Wiley, and thanks everyone for being here. And so wonderful to see so many friendly faces in the collective and in the audience, and meeting new people. I'm going to read a poem that isn't mine in the anthology. It's by Karen Wade, and it's called Tired Enough to Fill a River of Sleep. And it looks like this. I'm going to read it 3 times. Well, 4, each time a little bit differently. And the reason is thinking about how I'm young, my last name's Young, and sometimes these days I feel real tired. And then I feel guilty for being tired or run down or oppressed mentally, physically, all of these things. But something that helps me is that I know other people are out there, and those times that I'm down, they're up. And when they're down, I can be up. And how we're all together, and how all of us in this moment together are up. Tired Enough to Fill a River of Sleep by Karen Wade. Sleep, river, tired, snore, muddy mate. Spoon, tree roots, hold earth joined. Yawn, tired, mist, rest, river runs. River, muddy tree, earth, mist runs. Tired mate, roots joined, sleep, snore, spoon, hold. Yawn, rest, tired river. Tired river runs. Muddy mate joined root, spoon, hold earth, tree. Sleep, tired river. Snore, yawn. Rest, mist. Hold earth, tired mist. Spoon, muddy tree roots. Tired river joined mate. Yawn, rest, snore, sleep. River runs. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, Gideon. I agree what you said about some being up, some being down, and finding community regardless. To close us out this evening, we have Jaki Shelton Green. Jaki Shelton Green, I saw you just a few months ago. It seems like it was a decade ago, but it's good to see you here. She is the first African-American and third woman to hold the title of North Carolina Poet Laureate, and she is the author of 4 poetry collections and several chapbooks, and she recently released an album called The River Speaks of Thirst. Jaki Shelton Green.
Hello, hello, hello. What a time, what a time, what a time. So every time I reread the poems and the pieces in this book, I'm reminded of that slogan on the t-shirt that we truly are the wildest of our ancestors' dreams. We truly are. And I think this book bears testament to the language and the poetics that stretch and reimagine and translate and transform the meaning of why language does matter. All of your work, congratulations for being the voices. I'm reminded of a historical analysis to this book that Haitian slave women were beaten more frequently and more severely than their male counterparts because they would not be quiet. They used the only weapon available to them, their tongues. And this is a time when I think all of us in this space, in this room, because we've certainly created a room, poetry has a way of doing that. It creates a room, a sacred space, a quiet space, a tender space. And I think now is the time that more and more voices of people of color, more and more brown, black, red children need to hear, see, feel, smell, and imagine people like us. That we can tell them this is not magical, it's called hard work. It's called what building community looks like. It's called what standing in the margins of being rejected into the larger domain of poetics, but to keep pushing, and that's what Lenard did. I remember when Lenard created the collective, and I remember telling him, I don't have that kind of money to run to Raleigh because I'm raising 3 kids by myself as a divorced parent, so I'm gonna miss the meetings. But Lenard made this happen, and it is a fabulous legacy. And I'm proud to have been requested to write the introduction to this book that definitely bears witness that we have always been here, that our voices have always been here. Thank you for turning over the stories that we know, those of us who are Southern and share the Southernness of some of the work that's in the book. And those of us, like Camille said, who've moved on, crossing boundaries, crossing borders, but we always know where home is, the community of writers, the community of space building. So I want to thank Lenard, and I celebrate all of your voices and the pride that we carry collectively as writers of color in this state, who, like the women, we've been beaten more frequently and a little bit longer, but we still stand up and we use our voices. We use our tongues. And it is a time when all of us have to be present. And I think that's what this book bears witness to. So folk are saying, oh, she's making this political. Well, you know, they made the virus political. It is political. Every breath I take is a political breath. Every breath I take is political. So our work matters. Our work is the food, is the bread, is the breath. The breath for the children, those children's books that Carole writes, all of those books that I've gone into debt for buying for my 2-year-old grandchild. This language, these stories matter. So this is a book that I will be teaching pieces of it for my class in documentary poetry, because there's so much that's been translated through poetics of what real life, joy, misery, sorrow, recovery, what it looks like, what it feels like. So thank you. I leave you with this poem that I've written for the state of North Carolina. For North Carolina. Resonant young voices serenade your midnight of calm, as griots sing songs of your history, your gentle balm, a rolling sonata. We who are your south dip our feet in running branch water. You catch our stories in between your brows. We are your children, claiming you, ourself. Fertile earth shaking the hands of hoe handlers, hugging shoulders sore from factory work. Muddy rivers sweating freedom in the eyes of singers. We know you are calling us home, beyond the wail of elders, beyond the sacred psalms of griots. Listen to the wind marking your history. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jaki. And thank you to everyone who joined us tonight. I mean, just a fantastic reading across all these miles and across the state, and Camille joining us all the way out in Colorado. I would encourage you to pick up this anthology from the bookstore that invited you this evening, or your favorite local independent bookstore. Teach this work, discuss this work, immerse yourself in this work. This is important stuff, especially in the time that we find ourselves in. Stay tuned. SIBA is doing a number of these events throughout the summer going into the fall. If your local independent bookstore is not participating, please ask them to. Ask them to get a hold of this calendar of wonderful writers we have joining us. But we haven't had an event quite like this one just yet, and I'm so happy to be part of this. And I have no business having the last word after an event like this. And so I'll use my last words to echo North Carolina Poet Laureate Jaki Shelton Green's words that she shared with us tonight. This is not magical. It's hard work. This is what community looks like. So to Lenard and to everyone else, thank you for the hard work, and thank you for creating and sustaining this community. So thank you.